Hey everybody, back with part 2 of my look at my collection of PS2 games so far. Starting off, all the boxes are out of the closet now. Last time was all the ones that are kind of out on the shelf, and I still have, ready and reachable. Going to the ones in the closet here, we have Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and this is one that was made not in relation to the movies, but a little more with the book, and it was something very different if you played Two Towers and Return of the King. Those are fantastic games. I think a lot of people played those. I think those were best sellers on every version, I feel like. This one, not so much, and definitely not as good as Polish of It experience, but it is something very interesting, and it's a little bit more of related to the book than the Peter Jackson movies, which kind of makes it something a bit of a fun experience if you really enjoy that series. One from one of my PS2 Hidden Gems lists. This is still a great game that sold very poorly, but Kaya Dark Lineage. It is a good action platformer. Really focuses a lot on the platforming elements. You go a little bit later on, it has almost a little bit more of a Zelda feel as it goes along. Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. I know this is the favorite of a lot of people. I still prefer the first one overall. This is a great game. Really enjoyed that one. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, here's Return of the King. And again, these are in absolutely no order, these especially because they were just in storage in the closet, and everything's going to be nice and neat when we move and have everything set up in a game room, but stuff's just kind of wherever now in storage. Portal Runner, which this is a weird spin-off of the Army Men franchise, and this is actually a lot of fun. It's a surprisingly fun game. I've really enjoyed it. I've played it through twice. Amanda's played a little bit of it, and yeah, not a perfect experience, but overall, I think I like this more than most of the Army Men games. It's a very odd experience, but a lot of fun. God of War 2, the 2-disc set. Great game. Rune Viking Warlord. This was pretty fun. This is it's kind of a Tomb Raider-esque, but a little bit more of a focus on very bloody combat. This is definitely a lot of fun. This was also on PC. Dead or Alive 2. Hardcore. Overall, I had this also on Xbox in the collection with 1 and 2, and then on the Dreamcast. This would be my second favorite version behind the Dreamcast, but still a great one that, again, we played a lot of during the launch of the PS2. A lot of the stuff that came out 2000, 2001, 2002, a lot of that stuff is my favorite of that generation for that console. I just played the heck out of those. We have the Sonic Mega Collection Plus. Zone of the Enders, great game, fantastic game. Gotta check it out. 2 is obviously better in just about every respect, but I think a lot of people should play this. Not just the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo, this is actually a really good game. I'm really happy to see I've yet to pick up. I really want to get the Zone of the Enders 2, the VR one that just came out for PS4. I think that'd be really cool. I played the demo of it, have that downloaded on there, but great game. Dark Cloud. I'm not sure if this was this Level 5's first game. I know it was the first game by them that I ever played, but this I remember seeing on the cover of a magazine and being a big deal as one of the first real big new RPGs for the PS2, and I think it really lived up to it. It was something very, very fascinating. One of the few Western-themed games. I'm not really into Westerns and not really into a lot of the Rockstar stuff, but I did enjoy Gun. I did like that. This is a weird one. Ants Extreme Racing. The movie Ants is good, and my wife and I both actually prefer that to A Bug's Life. But yeah, I love kart racers, and I have a whole bunch. I have Muppets Racing, Smurfs Racing, you name it. The South Park one. I just really love these kind of kart racer type games. Even the crappy ones, I just have a little bit of fun with. I have a lot of those. The Red Star. This was really cool. This is a lot like a lot of those Marvel games, the Ultimate Alliance and things like that, but about Red Star. And this is actually pretty cool. I had a lot of fun playing that. First God of War. Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. This was a decent RPG set in the universe during the movies of Lord of the Rings, and it was good. Not really. It didn't quite live up to my expectations. I think I had very high expectations for what this would be, and it was still a decent experience, but wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, I think. So we have a couple of Gundam games here. We have Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo. That one was pretty decent. One that I like a lot better because I'm a big fan of Zone of the Enders, and this has a little bit more of a feel of it, but encounters in space. That's kind of a shimmery cover there. Really enjoyed that one. And Gundam Seed Neverending Tomorrow. And one that's not quite as good, but Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness. This was a big disappointment. I still really like it. I feel like if it just functioned properly, I feel like it would be decent. I like how it's a little bit of a different take tonally on Tomb Raider and kind of mixes things up, and I like having something a little bit different in one of the entries in the series. But yeah, I've always had so many problems actually physically playing it. Then we have Goosebumps Horrorland. We did a gameplay video of that showing a whole bunch of mini games here. It's just a goofy mini game thing. We got this because my wife and I, in I guess like 2nd and 3rd grade in the 90s, were big fans of Goosebumps, the books, and eventually the series, and we have a complete set of the original books and a bunch of them, so hey, why not check that out. Crash Tag Team Racing. As you know, the first one I really love. Nitro Kart I really enjoy. This one I didn't like as much. It felt like, I feel like it's had to have come out after the Mario Kart on GameCube. Double Dash. I feel like because it's basically the same mechanic, and I'm just not a fan of that mechanic. I didn't like that in the Mario Kart either. It's just not something I like. But this one does have a really interesting adventure mode and mini games that set it apart from the first two. But I feel like the core racing element just wasn't a style of gameplay that I enjoyed, so I didn't like it as much and didn't play much multiplayer at all with that. So good, but not as good. One that I think this might be the only one I have where I have just a generic GameStop case, and I just don't really want to spend the money on a complete one. Wild Arms 4, because I really enjoy Wild Arms 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5, not as good, but at least I have a copy here of Wild Arms 4 in case I ever want to play it again. I don't know, it just didn't click with me the same way 1, 2, and 3 did. One that I think is actually a little underrated. The first two Monkey Island games are infinitely better than this, but Escape from Monkey Island, I think it was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I think it has a lot of the humor. It doesn't quite live up to it, and especially I think the writing in general and the visual quality of it wasn't quite up to the older games. But as far as a Monkey Island game functioning in a new era on PS2 and things, I think it still almost lived up to legacy. It was still pretty good. I had a lot of fun with it. The Sega Genesis collection. This is great. You should check this out. It is nothing like the old NES and like an arcade game, but Rygar the Legendary Adventure, it's not as good as something like God of War, but a lot of the elements that are in God of War, this did first, and in some parts I like it better than God of War. It's the overall quality is not as good as those games, but it's actually a ton of fun. I remember when this came out, this was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I loved using the disc armor, and this is actually just a lot of fun. A game that I've had a lot of people try out over the years, and they've got their own copies now because they're like, wow, this is better than I expected. And like, yeah, this is a totally cool game. Another copy of Angel of Darkness, Greatest Hits. I have a lot of Tomb Raider games on every system. Two that were also on my Hidden Gems videos because they are amazing. Mark of Kree and the sequel there. So both surprisingly good games. Those are fantastic. I love the art style of those and just the way it plays out. Those are fantastic. We have Blood Rain 2. A couple of Naruto games here. The Uzumaki Chronicles. Naruto is one that, I was a little bit older when that came out. I feel like it was more of it was like the DBZ for like my little brother's generation. It just kind of like came out, took everything by storm, and was super popular. And I like the manga. I never really super got into the anime, but I actually found these games to be fairly enjoyable. So I played the first one, liked it enough, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll go ahead and grab this. So I've not been a massive fan of Naruto, but it's enough that as far as the more modern shonen anime go, it's one of the more interesting ones. Another copy of Soul Reaver 2. This is really cool, The Nightmare of Jiraga. It's a combination of two. Very interesting and difficult video game series, but this was just a really fascinating game. It was something I first played, I'm just like, this is something that feels very, very familiar, yet very different, because it's a fusion of two things. Silent Hill 2. Gungrave Overdose. Here's Blood Rain 1, Blood Rain 2 earlier, Blood Rain 1. So those were actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing those. I remember seeing I never saw. I think they made one on 2, but the first Blood Rain Uwe Boll, like, oh my gosh! I mean, every movie he's ever made is horrendous. But yeah, I actually met that jerk once. But yeah, Blood Rain movies, God, were awful. I remember watching those, but the games are actually pretty fun. They're cool, vampire, Nazi killing time. So those were good. The Prince of Persia. Played a bunch of Prince of Persia games over the years, but the ones that have always stood out to me are the trilogy of that generation that were all on GameCube and PS2 and Xbox. I have the Sands of Time on GameCube and PS2, and then I have, I think, just on PS2. Yeah, the Warrior Within and Two Thrones. Warrior Within was odd. The tonally, it's such a dark shift, and in some respects it was good, but even just like the music, it felt like it was sort of trying too hard to be hardcore and dark. And I think this was a good balance then, the last one, so that was good there. We have Wild Arms 4, now we have Wild Arms 5. Wild Arms 3, to me, the last one that was truly an amazing RPG. 4 and 5 are just kind of okay. SSX 3, for a lot of people, I think this is their favorite. For me, I still prefer the original and Tricky overall. Although this has a lot more content overall and just so much to do there. Onimusha Warlords. One that I do want to import the Switch version. That'll be really cool to revisit this game. I do have this and Genma Onimusha on the Xbox. I really enjoy the first one the most. I think it's digital only though when it comes to North America, but from what I've read, it seems like the Switch version in Japan will have English support, so I'm probably going to end up importing that. And then we have Bloody Roar 3. I think this is a very forgotten at this point fighting franchise, but this was pretty cool in the 90s, and then moving into the early 2000s with 3. Great series. This was really cool too. Forgotten Realms Demon's Stone, Patrick Stewart's voice in there, which is always great. But this was another one of those, kind of like the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, but a little more story heavy. I think a little bit overall better production values, and I just really enjoyed that one. This was a fun early game. Hurdy-gurdy. I've never played anything quite like that, but that is a lot of fun. I really love, I don't know if you can see on the back here, the look of the graphical style there. Hurdy-gurdy. You should check that out if you find that. And Dragon the Ancient Skates, this is a sequel to a game that was only on PC. This was PS2 and PC. This I had so much fun going around and being able to fly with your dragon and then get off, and the way the spell system works where you actually have to make the motions, cast a spell, and this was a heck of a lot of fun. That's box 1. I'm going to move over to box 2 now. We had Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution earlier, and it was the original release of Virtua Fighter 4. Easily my favorite of the Virtua Fighter series. I really liked 4, and Evolution was just sort of a perfected version of that. Really great. If you like something like, I guess, Devil May Cry is one of the first things that pops up in my head as a comparison to this, even though it's very different. Yeah, this is one that I feel like so few people play, but Chaos Legion. This was great, so check it out. This is, yeah, I agree. There's a quote on the back here from PSM Magazine. If you love Devil May Cry, you'll love Chaos Legion. I agree, even though I think a lot of the gameplay is very different. It's definitely its own thing. Yeah, this is great, especially if you like the first Devil May Cry. I think this is one to check out. I think not a lot of people played. Nano Breaker. One of the couple iToy games this we just randomly got and decided, you know what, we don't really have any kind of dance type games, even though we don't play them too much, but Dance Dance Revolution Supernova 2 for the iToy. So I think you can also use the mat with this one. Yeah, I played it with the mat, but yeah, also with the iToy. Ridge Racer 5. My favorite in the series. Type 4 is good, but I really like this. Again, a lot of early PS2 games I really loved. We had Return of the King earlier, Two Towers, also have this on the GameCube, played both of those a lot. These were just a lot of fun, those were really well made. Run Like Hell, a pretty unique sci-fi horror game. The gameplay wise, it really is a lot of running, but it is something that it does have a very unique feel to it. Speaking of unique, this I didn't like as much as its PS1 earlier games in the series, but this was still really fun and still fairly unique to this day as far as a franchise. Trapped, this is part of the Deception series. But yeah, this is a really fascinating game, a lot of fun. Crash Bandicoot, Wrath of Cortex. Pinball Hall of Fame. A Greatest Hits copy of Twisted Metal Black. DDR Extreme 2 enhanced for the iToy, so you can make it unplayable. This was a weird one. I really enjoyed the Shining Force games on Genesis and picked this up, and at first I thought I was really not going to like it, but I actually came to really enjoy it over time. Shining Force EXA, this is actually a pretty decent game. This is an awesome game. If you are like me and you love, especially like 80s and 90s Hong Kong action flicks, and you love Jackie Chan, Jet Li, you name it, go on and on, Sammo Hung, like everybody, you will like this action game with Jet Li. It is amazing. This is so much fun. I actually have 2 copies of it just because I love it. Jet Li's Rise to Honor. This was amazing. This is so much fun. This was one of the games on my Hidden Gems videos for PS2 because I never heard anyone talk about this, and it's fantastic. And everyone, just sort of like Rygar, but even more extreme. I feel like every person that I've had play this game was like, yeah, that was great. How come I've never heard of it before? I loved the control scheme with the analog sticks. I think it was so genuinely just unique in the way it felt and just amazing. That was great. Death by Degrees, not fantastic, but as far as spin-offs to fighting game franchises, it's definitely better than, say, like, Sub-Zero mythologies and things like that. As far as those type of spin-off games to fighting game franchises, this was pretty decent. There's nothing amazing, but if you like Tekken, that was actually pretty cool overall. Spartan Total Warrior, this was a lot of fun. Whiplash, one I need to play more of. This is one that I've just played an hour or 2 of years ago when I first got it. One I need to put back in and find some time for. Here it is. We had Drakengard 2 earlier. Drakengard, really good games. Okay game. Devil May Cry 2. I think it gets a little bit too much hate. Is it anywhere near as good as the first one? No. Is it anywhere near as good as the third one? No. Fourth one? No. Is it even as good as the weird reboot one? I don't know. I've never played it, but probably not. It's definitely not, but if you can find it for like $5, I think it's worth playing one time. It's really not that great, but overall I feel like it's worth playing through at least once. Gungrave, really cool game. I love Gungrave Overdose. I know a lot of people, I think more people have discovered the anime of Gungrave than these first 2 games, but there is a VR game coming out for Gungrave. I might have to look more into that because those were actually a lot of fun. They were very kind of simple, very anime style, very stylistically very interesting, sort of Devil May Cry-ish shooters, but much more kind of like an arcadey feel. Devil May Cry, first one is still my favorite. I really love, I think its roots as originally being a Resident Evil made it feel and look a little bit different atmospherically compared to the later games, and just the way the camera worked and the way the gameplay style was. I don't know. I really like 3 and 4, but to me, they just don't come close to this. The first one for me is by far my favorite. Like, not even a contest. Primal, really good. If you're a fan of Xena and Hercules, Callisto Hudson Leak is the voice actor for the main character there. Dirge of Cerberus. A lot of problems with this game. I've heard the original Japanese release actually has far more like glitches and issues, so I'm glad they fixed a few things here. It's still, though, I don't know, as someone who really have always loved Final Fantasy VII, a lot of the extended universe stuff for Final Fantasy VII has not been great, but this was worth a playthrough. Again, this is a game that has a lot of problems, but I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people let it out to be. I had fun with it. Pro Skater 3. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. There's Elite Force and Elite Force 2 on the PC. 1 was the one that's on PS2. This was really decent. Like, if you're a fan of Star Trek, especially Voyager, this is worth picking up, absolutely. And it's actually a decent enough first-person shooter, especially the one-player campaign. It's good enough that even if you've never seen an episode of any Star Trek, and you see this for like $5 or so, it's actually worth picking up. I think you might like it. It's surprisingly good. This one, this was just a quirky, fun game. 7 Samurai 20XX. Nothing spectacular. It definitely has the entire thing is such a budget game feel, but it was fun enough to pick up, and one that I had played a good deal of. This was great. The Simpsons Road Rage, basically Crazy Taxi, but I think I might overall prefer the Stephen A. and the Crazy Taxis. Like, this was just a lot of fun. I remember playing that a lot with friends. Shadow of Rome. This is one I've yet to play a whole bunch of. I need to get back in and play this eventually. This is one of the 5 or 6 here that I have not gone through and played. No One Lives Forever. Robotech Battle Cry. I grew up loving Robotech and Macross and things like that, and really enjoying it. And this was a lot of fun. It's kind of the equivalent of a lot of the Gundam games are to Gundam. Some more early games here is another launch one, Evergrace. With the opening theme, it sounds like a bunch of goats having an orgasm. You gotta hear it. You gotta hear it. A lot of weird quirks to this game, but it has a very unique feel. There's a sequel to it that I've never played because I don't know if I would ever be able to get into it. It's one where I think you have like 3 protagonists and they all share the same health bar and things like that, and there's so many little things, like little details of it that I've read that I'm like, I feel like I'm not gonna like it. But this one is strange, but worth playing through. It's actually a lot of fun once you get used to it. Pretty interesting there. The DBZ Budokai Tenkaichi. The Bard's Tale. Absolutely nothing to do with the old Bard's Tale games. It's completely different. This is basically like a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance with a dirty sense of humor. That's how I would describe it. But if you get off that expectation of it being the Bard's Tale and really just let it be its own thing, it's actually really, really funny. It is really enjoyable. This is one of the few games that Amanda actually like sat and watched me play most of because she was having fun just like watching the experience, because it was just it's a snarky, goofy take on that type of style. Just a heck of a lot of fun. I think it was pretty well made. DBZ Budokai 2. Champions of Norath. Again, like I said, with the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, that was the only one I really got into. Champions of Norath, I don't remember if I ever even finished playing through it. It's just so, it's good. It's just so repetitive. I can't always get into those super repetitive type games, so they don't always hold my interest. I really think I need to play that like multiplayer to really get into it. The Legend of Alandar. This is honestly, it's a pretty terrible game, but it has its own charms to it. And picking up a cheap RPG back in the day for the PS2, I still devoured it just because getting a game for the system. Shaman King: Power of the Spirit. X Squad. This was again a very early game for the system. I remember playing through that and really enjoying it. Today, it's probably going back looking at it, I think a lot of people would be like, nothing special, but at the time it was still pretty fun. Destroy All Humans. My other copy of SSX Tricky, the one I don't have out on the shelf. This was another one that I want to go back and play this someday because I have just vague memories of it. I remember playing it when it first came out, and I don't know why. This is just one of those weird ones where I remember it, but I don't know. Maybe it didn't make a strong impact, but it is very, very unique. But Ephemeral Fantasia. It's bizarre, and it's a lot of those. It's one of those like Groundhog's Day type things where you're constantly trying to repeat the same day and make things work. But yeah, it's very, very unique game, published by Konami. A bizarre RPG that I think you should check out. I gotta replay this game because I don't know why, but I don't know. Just one of these weird instances where I don't really remember that much of it. I gotta check that one out again. Of course, 2 classics here: Final Fantasy X and X-2. Well, a classic and a game. But 10 and 10-2, and just really love them. 10 blew me away when I got it for Christmas one year. 10-2 not as much. But I'm really happy these are coming to the Switch because that'll be really cool to play on the go. I have not played on the Vita at all, so that would be between the 2 versions. Obviously, I'll go with the Switch version. That'll be really cool. I'll play through 10 yet again. I played through it many times over the years, but finally through. There's still a handful of games on my list, but that is so far the PS2 collection. I think there's about maybe 20 or so games left that I want to get for the system, but even as someone who really tries to condense his list of games and doesn't want tons of games on the backlog for years and years and years and years, the PS2 has still exploded over the years because there are just so many games. If you've ever made a video or are planning to make a video about your PS2 collection, link it to me in the comments. I'll check it out. I'd love to see what you've played for the system, and what is that system for you, that one that you have limited time but you just keep buying games for it because you just have so much fun with it. Is it something like the Dreamcast? Is it something like current like the PS4? What is that one system that for you just keep getting stuff for?